Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Show Low City Council to order. By roll call, see that all council members are present. We'd like to welcome those who are with us tonight in the audience, as well as those who may be watching this evening on City 56. We're grateful for the opportunity we have to meet tonight in public and to be able to do the city's business here. We'd like to begin by invocation. I've asked Councilmember Leach if he'd lead us in invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Hatch. Those who'd like to join with us, please stand.
Our dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for all the blessings that you have given us these past few months. I pray that you continue to give us these blessings. I pray that you continue to watch over our first responders, our nurses, our firefighters, our doctors, our policemen. I just pray that someday we can heal this country, and I think the only way we can do it is with the power of prayer. I ask each individual to please, every morning, just get up and do a prayer. I think that's the only way we can get through this, the power of prayer. So I'm asking everybody, please, every morning, just a small prayer. I think it'll work. These things I pray for in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I'm sorry.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did I hear a stumble there?
Yeah.
Thank you,
That was me.
Councilmember Leach, for that prayer, and Councilmember Hatch. Appreciate that for the pledge. We're grateful to be here tonight. We're grateful for the opportunity to hear from any public who would like to speak on Call to the Public this evening. I know that's something that is not on the agenda, that you limit your time to 3 minutes. So at this time, we'll open call to the public. If anybody desiring to speak. Dang, you send us letters and emails, but you won't come and talk to us.
Here.
Appreciate that. The next item is special events update. Tonight, we're grateful to have the CEO of Summit, Mr. Ron MacArthur, an update here of Summit Healthcare. Thanks for being here, Ron.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. It's my pleasure to be here to represent our hospital board. They've asked that the hospital take a leading role in educating the community regarding the seriousness of the COVID virus here in the White Mountains, and that's my primary reason to be here tonight. I want to contrast what life was like at the hospital March, April, and May, and what life is like at the hospital June and July. You know, the COVID outbreak first started on the Navajo Reservation back in March, and everybody geared up. We had to identify surge beds. We had the staff. We opened a tent out in our ER, got ready for a surge that didn't happen in March, April, and May. We had an average inpatient census of COVID patients of maybe 1 or 2 in-house and maybe 5 or 6 in the ED, but we were expecting much more. Didn't happen. Fast forward to June, when the executive order lifted the stay-at-home order, when the governor lifted the stay-at-home order, 2 weeks after that, we saw a major surge at the hospital in terms of number of COVID patients. We used to have 1 or 2 in the hospital. Today I had 37. We used to have 5 or 6 in the ER. We run 10 to 20 a day in the ER. You know, we geared up back in March, April, May. We had 40 agency nurses on hand. We were all staffed for them. We shut down elective surgeries, which tremendously hurt our revenue. And now we only had 6 open beds today for COVID patients. 6 open beds. So what we're doing, and what the biggest concern is, we're still going up. The rest of the state is kind of plateauing, but Navajo County is still on the increase. And what happens with COVID patients, they have a lot longer length of stay than the normal patients. Our average length of stay, last I was reported to me, was 9 days. We're one of the few hospitals that have ICU beds. White Mountain Regional doesn't have ICU, Little Colorado, so they transfer, and even White River Hospital, the IHS hospital, does not have ICU beds. So when they need patients needing ICU care, they come here. Our regular ICU, which is when we're licensed, is 12 beds is full of COVID patients every day. We've opened up an additional 6 beds in our surgical area for a COVID overflow. And then we've taken our cath lab area, 5 beds just for non-COVID patients. So right now, we've got 23 ICU beds that pretty much run full all the time. Our Med-Surg 1 floor is 18 beds, has been designated our COVID Med-Surg bed. It's full all of the time. Now we're doing isolation, fixing that on our 2nd floor so we can spill over to our 2nd floor. We moved all of our non-COVID patients to the 2nd floor and to our 3rd floor. We're down to even looking at OB beds being converted over to COVID beds. We've had to bring in a bunch of staff. We've geared up. We've added 17 more beds in our licensed bed capacity to handle the overflow. We sent all of the agency nurses home, and now we're bringing them back. We've had 2 national teams. We had a national team come in 2 weeks ago, 14 come in. They went home Friday. Another national team of nurses came in, brought in by our county and ADHS. 17 arrived last week. They'll go home next week. We've got 17 more nurses coming out of New York the week after. I mean, having the beds is an issue, but also having the staff, the RNs to staff it, is a big issue. And so what has been the response of hospitals? The Hospital Association took a stand a few weeks ago on June the 17th. A letter was sent to Governor Ducey, signed by representatives of all of the hospitals in the state of Arizona. Let me read you what the letter to Governor Ducey said, just portions of it. We appreciate your recent endorsement of face mask usage in public, yet we believe we can do more to protect Arizona public health. A recent definitive study on the efficacy of face masks in China, Italy, and New York concludes that wearing a face mask in public corresponds to the most effective means to prevent interhuman transmission. We respectfully request you require Arizonans to wear face masks in public and provide for meaningful enforcement of noncompliance either through the state or by empowering local cities and counties to use their own enforcement authority to combat COVID-19. This action will not only save lives, but demonstrate strong support for our healthcare workers as they cope with the stress and demands of the challenging environment. And just going to that last point, the support our healthcare workers, I've had 51 employees test positive for COVID. I've got 43 out today waiting for test results. I had a provider test positive today for COVID. Normally sees 40 patients a day. We had to practically close our Pine Top clinic a couple of weeks ago because we only could keep the urgent care center open because all of the providers were sick for COVID, and then they go home and infect their families. So it's a big issue for us here on the mountain. A big issue to stop. We got to flatten the curve. We're going to run out of beds. We got the staff to come in, but I'm going to run out of beds to take care of them. And so we'd ask that the city council consider making it mandatory to wear face masks. I just came from our medical staff executive committee meeting, and they said the reason we're having such a surge is the inconsistency of wearing face masks here on the mountain. That's the opinion of the leaders of our medical staff, and that would help flatten the curve for us. So I would, it's not an action item, but would ask for the city council to consider that to help flatten the curve and to help protect the healthcare workers and show support for them, because they're getting sick with their families, and we're up to 100 now, counting the ones out being tested, and it's a lot of employees. So thank you for being able to give that update. It's a serious issue here. Until we can see it start flattening of the curve, we need to be responsive to what's going on and help the hospital out. Be happy to answer any
Thank you.
questions.
Appreciate that. Any comments or questions there for Mr. MacArthur? You'll just relay to us that we appreciate their commitment, their level of service that you guys are doing and what you're doing. We appreciate you very much. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Mayor,
You're on.
Mayor, one more comment on that. I support Ron's statement. He and I deal with our employees. We're the largest employer in Navajo and Apache County. And I invite you to go to our website and listen to the nurses and the healthcare providers that are on the front lines and see what they're dealing with on a daily basis. They are sick and they're dealing with our families, our community, and we need to support them. I invite you to please support them.
There's 8 or 9 testimonials out there, and we had a meeting of community leaders at the hospital a week or so ago, and we had our head nurses that run the COVID units come and talk to the mayors and the leader of our county. But it's an issue, and they're giving their heart and soul up there, and we've had one of our employees about die. We haven't been like little Colorado that has had an employee death, but had a young female employee was on the ICU and didn't look good, but she made it home. So far, all of our employees, I don't think we got any in the house, but we got 2 of our ER providers waiting for test results that will really impact our ER if they have to be quarantined for 14 days.
When they're sick, our providers are sick, it impedes our ability to serve our community.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cox. Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. Next item we have under special events here is a presentation by the Show Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Delilah Edwards.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I just want to piggyback on Daron if I can for a minute.
Sure.
Not only are you going to run out of providers, you are going to run out of oxygen and equipment because we can't keep up with the supply and the demand right now. Whereas our little office here in Show does between 25 and maybe 30, we're doing 60 to 70. And we almost could not provide oxygen to a patient one day. So it really is impacting not just the hospital, but to take care of them in, but when they come out and they still need it because almost every one of them comes out needing it. So just some food for thought.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. I am not sure how to make that. There we go. Okay. So I committed to you last month when I was here that I would come back with some real numbers and facts on the Tourist Information Center. So a couple of the things that we have done. The Tourist Information Center was not part of the Arizona Office of Tourism. We've gone ahead and applied to them. We've paid the fee. We're waiting to hear back from them. We understand it's about a 5 to 6 week process. That check went out about 2 weeks ago. What we get from that is the visitarizona.com site will have the city of Show listed on it. There's a mobile app you can download. And there is also an official state travel guide that we will be in. You can see the numbers of distribution and things there that will be available. The markers are already on the highway. We were already once part of this. I have done some diligent searching and cannot tell you where it stopped. But the markers are there, so we were there at one point. I'm going to have a video played for you right now.
I would describe the people of the Show Low and the whole entire White Mountain area as extremely friendly. They invite you into their homes, they invite you into their jobs, they invite you into community involvement, which I think is one of my favorite things. They're just like family.
What makes Shoalo unique is we're the recreational and the economic hub of the White Mountain area. We have a climate here that's unsurpassed. We have 4 seasons, and it's a nice place to come up and visit.
It's just a very special spot in Arizona. The beauty of the land is incredible. The people here are wonderful.
When it was a contest with Frontier and Dish. We are going to have the America's Best Communities removed from it, and Summit was kind enough to let us reuse this. The plan is to splice in Game and Fish, telling us about the area, the Forest Service telling us about the area, maybe some of our outdoor recreation people, J&T's, Wildlife, the White Mountain Nature Center, but to make it more tourist-driven. Obviously, there's some things that need correcting. We no longer have Great Lakes Airlines, so we need to reshoot that footage. Paper Mill needs to come out. It's closed now. So there's some things that still need to be done, but that link will be on the Arizona Office of Tourism website. It will be on the Chamber and TIC website for people to go view and see. We'll post it on all the social media so they can see it a couple of different times. Speaking of social media, who has a smartphone on our council? Everybody?
Who doesn't?
Yep. Better question. So we've ramped up our social media. We started with Facebook. Instagram will follow, Twitter. We haven't investigated Snapchat or Pinterest, but they are options for us, so we're going to do that. What you're looking at here is a snapshot of some analytics from our Facebook page. On November 26th of 2018, the slide on your left, we had 5,245 interactions. When we hired our social media person on June 24th, we went to 5808 almost overnight, just by some of the things he's done, and I'll show those to you as well. So these spikes that you're looking at are interactions. These are page likes on our Facebook page. It starts on June 1st. You can see where you started on June 24th, and then you can see where it's really climbed. And the red down below here are people who have unliked our page, which is my understanding is sometimes typical when you start posting a bunch of stuff, but more people are liking it day in and day out. Let's see, this is how many people are being reached by our posts. So you can see this peak here, almost 12,000 people. So our page is now getting attention, and there's conversation, there's questions, there's likes, there's emojis happening now, whereas before we were just flat. This again is the reactions. You can see that there's the one day, I believe that looks probably the 24th, 25th maybe, almost 550 plus reactions just that one day. So here's just some analytics. The one on your left, colored one, is from June 22nd to July 19th. The one on your right, I just did this morning. In that 28-day period, we reached 89,600 people. We were up 80,400. Our post engagements were 39,700, and our new page likes were up 508 to 609 in just that short period of time. Pretty much the same analytics over here, just a day later. This is an example of some of the things he's been doing. We do both small businesses and tourist type things. We also have shared the city page, the county page, several different. If you look in the middle, Full Hollow, 24,500 people saw that post and 2,700 people engaged. You can see that 1,339 people viewed the photos, which is amazing. Our walk-in traffic still stays very, very steady. To date, July, 224, most of them over 61. I didn't break out the numbers for you. Because our phone system is highly intelligent, our phone track, to date, we've had 801 phone calls. 365 of those were the week before the 4th of July. You want to guess what their question was? Are we still having fireworks?
What's the weather?
That too. What's the weather? So with that, if you have questions, I'll take them, but we have done some serious ramping up of it. I look forward to continuing to do that. We're going to move into Instagram next. We're going to hire someone to be in the chamber building full time. We're not going to hire an executive director at this moment as there are no events to plan, and that is the crux of their job, but we will have a full-time person there. We've re-engaged the volunteer program. We've had some people step up and say they'd like to volunteer, so we're going to start scheduling those again. We've had members come back who have not been there in the past few years. So it's going well, and we're going to keep plugging along and doing what we do. Questions?
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Dilly, for that report.
Problem?
I can definitely see by just a little bit of work that you guys done in this last 3 or 4 weeks since our last meeting that things are definitely ramped up a lot more than what it had been. So I guess my expectations are pretty high that things are going to still go a little bit higher for the next 5 or 6 weeks, or maybe even the next 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. But I do like the positive move that it's going. I think that was a main concern of all of ours, that were we getting out there social media wise to show what SHOLO was all about and to try to attract those people instead of, but just by your numbers we've seen somebody stepped up and worked that. And so I'm grateful that you did that. And I'm hoping it's definitely in the right turn for us. So thank you.
I feel like it is. They're asking questions. They're commenting. It's been fantastic. I've been so surprised myself. So.
Thank you.
You've done a great job, and I think Derek's done a great job, helping you and things that way. And I don't know where you got that picture of the who doubled for Ed Muter, but whoever that is, he looks just like him, because that's probably about as rare a shot as you're going to see with him speaking.
15 years ago, too.
Yeah, we need to frame that, I think, there, Master.
Just
That's
a
great,
quick
but thank
comment,
you.
if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just as I know how I felt about the chamber for the past few years. And this is kind of the direction I was looking for years ago. So, it looks positive, and that's what we were wanting, or I was wanting. I can't speak for the rest of the council, and that's why I was so against keep providing money to the chamber for something we're not doing. And this is what we were after. We know we needed social media, but we couldn't make it happen.
Well, let me tell you, this gentleman right here, Derek.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Very much.
It's all
because
him.
That's all.
I simply found him. He does all the magic.
And that's all I think I was wanting. And that's why I always voted against keep funding our tourist information, because of that, because we're falling so far behind. So kudos to you, is because you did so much in such little time. So it's amazing. So one quick comment. When you go out and visit some of these businesses, I don't want to really ask him, but whoever does, do they go out and visit all the businesses or just chamber members? Are we directing? Here's my point with that. I know you know where I'm going, just so you know, because we're all part of the White Mountains. And if they're not chamber members, I think if you visit them and not ask for money every time you go into a business that's not a chamber member, but ask them how they're doing, maybe go back next year, that makes somebody like myself, 2 businesses in town, right, more excited about maybe belonging to the chamber. And that's
yeah. And I agree with you. We used to have an ambassador program. We're going to ramp that back up too. We had anywhere from 7 to 10, 11 ambassadors, and everybody had kind of their assigned. And that's what kind of we went out and said, hey, how are things going? Yes, mostly our priority was our members, but we also, I mean, part of it is stopping in to introduce the chamber to new businesses or to people who aren't members or may not know what we offer or can do. So we will ramp that back up, but one thing at a time.
All right, no, thank you. Awesome.
Thank you, Delila.
Thanks so much.
You guys have a good evening.
Next item is the consent calendar. I looked, council members, if there's any individual items that need pulled from that. We'll go over what those items are. We have a proclamation proclaiming July and August as months of prayer. A consideration of acceptance of a 2020 rehabilitation and rejuvenation of public road slurry seal. We have the consideration of approval to purchase global positioning system survey equipment. A consideration of the award of a contract amendment for the supervisor control and data acquisition control system. Consideration of the approval of revised preliminary development plan for final plat for the Hollows of Bison Crossing. A consideration of the second amendment of the portable hangar use agreement, a signed agreement from Doug Riggins to John F. and Susan W. Richards. A consideration of resolution R 2020-17, granting utility easement at Show Public Safety Building to Arizona Public Service. There's an addendum that's attached to this tonight on that item. Consideration of acceptance of grant funds from the network of the National Library of Medicine and authorization of the budget transfers. And a consideration of the acceptance of grant funds from Rural Activation and Innovation Network. And consideration of the Show City Council meetings, the regular meeting of June 16th and the special meeting of June 29th. Is there a motion? We have a motion by Councilmember Leach. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Clark. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Did that pass 7-0? At this time, I'd like to read the proclamation here that we have and just make a comment. As we're led by prayer tonight, it is important that what can we do? What can we do to fight COVID? What can we do to make a change in our community? And I think we started months ago with a community fast back in March and April in a day of prayer. And I think that we get complacent sometimes in the things that matter most in our life. And so with this proclamation, I hope that we will take to heart what our inner feelings are a little bit and find a time that we can find each day to do a little bit more. This proclamation is by the City of Show Low, the Office of the Mayor, and the City Council. Whereas prayer has always been a part of America's, as well as Show Low's heritage. Whereas we rely on prayer for comfort, direction, and strength, praying not only for ourselves, but for our community, our country, and the world. Whereas we invite all citizens to set aside a special time each day to pray, ponder, worship, or pause for a moment of silence or meditation and ask for help, guidance, and relief from COVID-19. And whereas we give thanks for our Constitution that respects the beliefs and protects the religious freedom of all people to pray, worship, or abstain according to the dictates of their conscience. And whereas we pray for all citizens of our great city and nation, as it faces unprecedented challenges due to the coronavirus and the resulting economic slowdown. And whereas we pray for our first responders, law enforcement officers, caregivers, doctors, nurses, and final responders who have answered the call to serve and protect. And whereas we pray for all citizens, particularly those who are sick, mourning, or without hope, and ask God for the sustenance to meet the challenges we face as a city and a nation. Now, therefore, I, Darrell Seymour, Mayor, on behalf of the Show Low City Council, do hereby proclaim July and August 2020 as months of prayer in the city of Show Low and urge all citizens of Show Low, as their own faith directs them, to join us in giving thanks for the many blessings we enjoy and call upon individuals of all faiths to pray for help, guidance, and relief from COVID-19 for our great city and nation as we address the challenges of our time, dated the 21st day of July, 2020. With that, I ask our citizens to step up and to pause each day to offer a gratitude and thanks, and each of us to do a little bit more, do a little better, as we've been asked today by a CEO of a hospital, to think a little bit more of others and do a little better of what we can do our part. We haven't mandated a mask, but we've said use caution, use wisdom, and use the best that you can. It didn't make sense. Somebody posted the other day on Facebook, 2 people driving on a motorcycle, hugging each other, driving with their mask on, but they didn't have helmets. Now, you know, for what it's worth, for what it is, you know, let's use some common sense and wisdom when we go into a crowded place or a building. The physical distancing is great, but also if we can protect a little bit more, let's do what we can to step it up a little bit here for a little while. But let's ask our Heavenly Father for help in His Son, Jesus Christ. And as we do those things, we will be blessed. We have been blessed. And I promise you, we'll continue to be blessed. Thank you.
Let me take on to that.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, I just want to tag on to, if everybody remembers the Rodeo Tiscai fire, that fire came within 1 mile of Cholo. And the power of prayer on that, still nobody can see why or why not Cholo was saved on that. But I think it was because of the prayer that was offered up for to save Cholo. When we drove out of Cholo heading towards Holbrook, we could see that fire coming over the mountains. And I told my wife before we left, I said, well, Cholo's going to look different when we come back. So power of prayer definitely saved Cholo that. And I just can't see, you know, it was like a hand came down and blocked that fire within a mile of Cholo. So prayer does work. God does answer prayers, and there's still miracles out there that He still wants to pursue and do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item we have is new business. Councilmember Kelly.
All I'll say to that comment and yours is amen.
Thank you, Gene. Next item is new business is consideration of appointment of Planning and Zoning Commission members. Reedhead.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Due to the resignation of Planning and Zoning Commissioner Debbie Houston Robertson, there is a vacancy on the commission with the term expiring March 2021. As you know, recently there were 2 vacancies on the commission for which the City Council interviewed 4 applicants. Of the 4, 2 were appointed to fill the vacancies and 1 withdrew his name from consideration. The 4th applicant who was not appointed was Doug Roberts, and after being contacted by staff, he has indicated that he is still interested in serving. Staff recommends appointing Doug Roberts to fill the term on the commission that expires March 2021.
Thank you. Any comments or questions there?
I have a question. Did you say March of 2021?
Yes.
Did anybody ask him if he planned on running if he was appointed? Or no? Right there.
Here we
Or
go.
reapply, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Clark.
I didn't see him back there with the mask on.
I just want to commend Mr. Roberts for stepping up and being willing to fulfill these seats. I've noticed since I've decided to run for public office, there's not a lot of people in the public who want to do this. Right now, we're looking at school board vacancies, and we have 3 vacancies, and we only have 2 applicants. When I ran for the school board, we had 2 vacancies, and I had to run. I didn't want to. I wasn't in my political plans to run, but we only had 1 person step up for those 2 seats. And so I applaud you for being willing to do your civic duty and to serve in these capacities. They're volunteer. They're not fun sometimes. We all can attest to the parade canceling and the backlash that we all receive. And, you know, these are volunteer positions that we're not getting millions off of these. But it's an opportunity to serve in the community and to make this community a better place. So I want to applaud you for being willing to step up. And I would, if anybody's out there watching this, I would invite you, you know, before you become a keyboard warrior and start, you know, deciding to attack people who are volunteering, think about going to the Office of the Elections and pulling a packet and making a difference and stepping up, because we need people who want to make a difference. So.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve Doug Roberts for to fill the vacancy on the Shola Planning and Zoning Commission with his term expiring in March of 2021.
Thank you. We have a motion and second by Councilwoman Kakavas. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passed 7-0. Congratulations, Mr. Roberts. Look forward to you serving with us, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. You'd like to come up to the podium, please?
I appreciate the faith that you guys are showing in me. I will do my best not to let you down. Again, what you're saying, Councilman Clark, I've had several people say to me, why would you do that? It's unpaid, requires some time, commitment. Like you said, it's kind of I've lived in Shiloh now for 8 years. I've known many of you during that time. And I've admired the service that's been performed by the council and the planning and zoning. Cities run pretty well. I'm impressed. We're fiscally sound. I think there's been times that there's been planning and zoning questions. And every time I believe that, in my experience, what I've noticed, they made pretty good decision. So I'd like to be a part of that and contribute to it. And I appreciate your faith in me, and I'll try to do my best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Next item we have is consideration of a construction contract for the senior center kitchen expansion. Mr. Cup. Anytime you're expanding a kitchen, you should bring donuts or something, I think.
I can't cook.
No,
Not
you can bring them, you can leave them out there.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Shoalo Senior Center provides food to community members with low to moderate incomes through the Meals on Wheels program and through congregate meals at the Senior Center. The proposed kitchen expansion will add approximately 400 square feet of storage space for bulk goods and include purchasing a commercial refrigerator and freezer. The city received grant funding for an expansion of the kitchen through the Community Development Block Grant CDBG State Special Project account. Federal funding is available on a competitive basis through this program, which funds projects to assist persons of low to moderate income to prevent or eliminate slums or blight, or to solve an urgent need or health hazard. The CDBG approved budget for construction to $73,000, with a city match of $16,000 for a total construction budget of $89,000. The project was originally bid in January 2020. All the bids exceeded the project budget. The council voted to reject all bids. The project was redesigned to reduce the cost and was publicly rebid in accordance with statutory requirements. A single bid was received. Although there was only one bid received, the bid was within the project budget and was submitted by a local contractor with whom the city has recently worked. That contractor is LDNB LLC, and their bid was $84,675. Staff recommends awarding the construction contract for the Shoalo Senior Center kitchen expansion to LDNB LLC in an amount not to exceed $84,675,000.
Thank you.
$84,675. Thank you.
And 5 dozen donuts.
Okay. And I'd be happy to answer questions.
Any comments or questions, Vice Mayor?
Thank you for that. I appreciate you sending that back out for a rebid and everything else. Our seniors is a main thing around Shoalo that we want to protect, and we want to help, and we want to serve. And I think from a long time ago, from when Meals on Wheels and Senior Center program started, this has always been a project that we want to see grow and to embellish and pick up the people that are hurt or need food or need some type of shelter or need something. So I am grateful that you rebid this and somebody definitely came up and did that bid. We know it's an ongoing thing of changing with kitchen staff and kitchen equipment and freezers and garbage disposals and everything else. So I am definitely glad that you went and did that. I just want to hope the community understands that Senior Center Meals on Wheels is a big project to serve people here, and we want to, and we as a city want to back that 100% and doing stuff like this to make sure that stays up and running. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly?
Yeah, a little question. With it coming in under the budget of $89,000, who receives the benefit of the price break? Is it prorated or?
We've actually reserved the remainder of the funds to purchase the freezer and refrigerator that's going to go into that.
Non-commercial, I take it.
Pricing them, commercial reach-ins start at around 2,300, so we're going to be pretty tight on that.
Huh? Okay, cool. But we have a commercial freezer purchased in the reconstruction, right?
The original bid had a walk-in freezer, and that's what made the price so high.
Went away.
Yeah. So the walk-in is out. It's going to be a reach-in unit as opposed to the walk-in.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Leach.
A quick question or comment. I have a couple of those reach-ins, the true ones, and they were brand new. They're like $2,500. So the cost of those coming down were manageable. And I think there's a 10-year warranty on these or somewhere in there. So these new ones that they're making now, I mean, ours is huge and didn't take any extra power, didn't take hardly anything. And I would never agree to a walk-in. And most of these restaurants are even going to these because of that, unless there's already one in there. So I think it's a great idea. But that's what we did, is just change that to get down to that bed.
Yeah, that's the only change that we made.
Amazing.
Yep.
I'll make them. You, Mike, go ahead.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move to award construction contract for the senior center kitchen expansion City of Show Low project CS 1220B to LDB LLC and amount not to exceed $84,675 and 5 dozen donuts.
We have motions or second by Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? See that passed 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick comment, if I can, Mayor. About the senior center, I know I've preached this a few times about something my wife started a few years ago, and now that they're expanding that kitchen. But, a lot of us are only 2 people left at home, and they have all these specials down at Safeway with your card. I mean, you can get a pound of peaches for 25 cents and all this. Go buy that and take it over there. You wouldn't believe, we usually go over there at least once or twice, 3 times a month and just take stuff to them. And it's amazing how appreciative they are, because now they get an extra piece of fruit now. And that just drives me crazy to think of someone that might not get a banana that day, a senior. Unbelievable. But fruit's getting to where we can buy it. So if you think about buying something extra, take it over there. They love it. We take bread. We take all kinds of stuff. So that stuff that's on sale and you can never use because your family's too small, they can definitely use it. So
Thank you. All right, our next item is item C, a public hearing regarding a final budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, and the proposed secondary property tax levy. Mr. Justin Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. The key word I think on this first page is final, so you don't have to see me on budget for a while.
Thank you.
You're welcome. At least on the regular budget. We do still have to adopt the secondary tax rate at our next meeting, but that'll be easy compared to the regular budget. So this is just a sample of the process that we've been through starting back in January. Tonight we're at the final budget adoption, $60,292,185. A refresher for all the council goals and priorities. We want to preserve and maintain our infrastructure, provide a good quality of life that will attract our youth and other people to come and stay in our area, community and economic development, and then organization. So this chart, I will say at the start of the presentation, we have not made any changes since the tentative budget was adopted. We did put together a deferred list of approximately $2.5 million, mostly in capital projects. If the budget numbers, revenue numbers don't look good, we have some alternatives to hold back on some items. Right now, everything's looking okay, so we're leaving the budget at approximately 60.3, but no changes from the tentative. This is a breakdown of our revenues, slightly more than what our actual budget is, mostly because of our capital carryovers and our beginning fund balance. But the breakdown is, of that $70 million, you have $50 million in operating revenues and or 50%, sorry, and 37% in beginning fund balance. And this is a breakdown of the operating revenues. State shared at 13%, local taxes 31%, utility fees at 25.7%, and charges for service at 12.7%. And our expenditures by type, the goal is to always have our capital number up there as our highest number. That means we're working on projects, building infrastructure, and taking care of our needs that way. We also spend a lot on operations and personnel at 21.6% and 29.1%. And this is a breakdown of the general fund, where the tax revenues, how they're spent within the general fund. Public safety at 33%, general operations at 14%, airport at 10.1%, and then a lot of others mixed in with. The breakdown of our full-time equivalent employees. Did add 2 positions this year. We had we're advertising for a community communications coordinator for the city, and we're also advertising for a community outreach for the police department. Both of those positions will focus on community outreach and social media, and kind of ramping up our services to those in our area and attracting people to come to our area. This is our capital and contingencies. No changes here, but just a reminder to the council that we did boost the council contingency from $250,000 to $300,000 for fiscal year 2021. This is a breakdown of expenditures by service area. Public Works at 26%, Public Safety 19.2%, and our utilities 25.2%, and then general government 22.4%. So for our streetlight improvement district, I mentioned earlier that we'll have a public hearing next meeting for this, but just to make the council aware of where we're at with the budget, we're leaving the rate at the 0.1401 for $100 of assessed value. That's been that number for, I think, 4 years now. And the streetlight improvement district is taking care of itself. We do budget a general fund subsidy in case there are unforeseen issues. A couple of years ago, we had issues with the power bill went up. We didn't plan for the rate change, so we were like $2,000 under budget on revenues. So we have left that in there mostly as a placeholder if we do need to transfer from general fund to make that whole. But the revenues are looking good for fiscal year 20, and we did budget for $200,000 for fiscal year 21. So final adoption tonight. Council will adopt the resolution. We'll have our budget finalized, and then we'll do our secondary property tax levy for the streetlight improvement district on August 4th. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Johnston? Councilmember Kelly.
Yeah, would you share for council and the public how we get a little extra money, even though we don't raise the rate, to cover our commitment on that power bill?
Yeah, so the county does an assessment each year. So as the values of the property goes up, the rate can stay unchanged, but we'll still collect more money.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just want to say thanks to you and to your staff for the work you did this year on the budget. Got an excellent budget. We're closing out, our fiscal year now and starting this year, and we just appreciate what you guys have done and your projections and everything going forward. Thank you.
Welcome. It was scary there for a while when the COVID first came, but we've been fortunate to weather the storm, so to speak, so far. So we're still staying optimistic, but we're keeping an eye on things and make sure we're prepared to handle any shortfalls that we may come up again. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Leach.
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
I need to turn this to the public right now. The public hearing is anybody from the public who would like to share anything about our budget or want a new swing or anything? Okay, seeing
Seconds.
nobody moved, I'll close the public hearing at this time and now come back for a motion.
Thank you, guys. It's pretty nice to hear a budget like that when you really don't understand a lot of how you move beans, and you guys just make it so simple. So I move to adopt resolution number R 2020-16, adopting the final budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021 in the amount of $60,292,185.
Thank you. Councilwoman Goncalves.
I'll second, but I would like to make a comment too. One of the things that we hear in the community is it's an election year and you talk with the citizens throughout the community. One of the things that I'm most proud of and proud of our staff is that we are fiscally responsible and we set ourselves up well for the future. I think that's something that needs to be really expounded upon and noted, that if there's a concern from our citizens that we are overspending, you can take a look at our budget, our capital projects. We don't go over that. There was a comment about some of the things that some of us would like to see as an event center going forward. And I can assure you that this council has not approved a $20 to $25 million project going forward in that regard. We are looking at something like that. We are considering options. We have not even looked at a budget. So I wanted to reassure our citizens that we are not overspending our budget and we are very conservative. And so with that, I second the motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any other comments? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. You know, you guys just, your department or City of Shoal just received an award for your efforts of doing these budgets and everything else. But it's not just you guys that's done it. How many years in a row have we had this award for all the other people?
I think when James Minlove came a couple of years ago, it was 13 or 12. So we're probably approaching 16,
So,
I would say.
So, here's what I'm going to say is, even though you guys are the ones that's here this year, over 13 years, this budget's been balanced and hardly any mistakes or anything else, and all those awards for everything we do. So it's not just you. It started a long time ago, and the thing is, you guys are staying with that prospect, and you guys are still showing it and still giving us a budget that we can approve, and we know there's not any hidden agendas in it or missed monies or anything else. We feel comfortable with everything you do. So I want to thank you for your award that you received, but also for continuing the support that you need that you show for the council and for the city of Shoal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Clark.
I just want to echo what all of the council members have said as far as thanking Mr. Johnson and Carrie, the hard work that they've done. Mr. Mutter and his staff and his department directors know when they come budget season that they understand the will of the council, and there's nothing that's frivolously asked for, and there's things that are asked that are meaningful to the community. And I want to also echo what Vice Mayor said about being transparent. I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Mutter when I came onto the council. I had some questions about the budget. You know, obviously there's a learning curve. And each time they were able to go right into the budget and show me exactly where it was going. I'd invite members of the community, if there are questions about the budget, and when we have, I know in the community they hear about the overages that we hear when sales tax revenues are up and stuff like that. Go to City Hall and ask and talk to the staff, and they will be able to answer your questions directly. And we were very transparent exactly where the money's going. So I applaud you guys for doing that. So thank you.
And if you don't want to even ask them, go online, because we're transparent online. You can pull up anything you want to see. And we've spent a lot of money to make sure that we are transparent. And it's something that I can say that I'm proud of being on this council for 16 years, and we haven't had any allegations about misappropriations of funds in any, and that goes a long ways for our staff. Thank you. And for this council and other councils. Okay, with that, we have a motion, second. Call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passed 7-0. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next item we have, we'll need to move motion to move into the Shoal Bluff Community Facilities District Board meeting.
So move.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Vice Board Member. All those in favor? Any opposed? Yeah, pass 7-0. You know when you're ready. This time I'd like to call the special meeting of the Shoal Bluff Community Facilities District Board to order. See roll call, all board members are present. This time we have a public hearing, resolution R 2020-02, adopting the final budget and setting the tax levy for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. Mr. Johnson.
Board members, we have a presentation tonight to go through the final budget. For this budget, we have not made any changes from the previous budget that was brought to the board. A brief history on the Shoal Bluff Community Facilities District. It was formed by the property owners of the district in 2005, separate unit of government from the city, and all debt issued must be covered by the district's assessed value. And the benefit of any debt, mostly for infrastructure, must be for the district. And there was $2.9 million issued with a due date of 2032. There are two separate funds, the special assessment bond and the general obligation bond. The general obligation bond was paid off in July of 2018 using funds from the CFD and also from the developer. So there's no extra bill on the tax bill for the property owners in the CFD. On the assessment side, the original bond was $2,014,000, has an annual debt service of $151,000, 227 parcels total in the development, and the developer owns 127 parcels, which is 56%. And there's currently an unbudgeted reserve of $231,000. On the revenues, we have a beginning fund balance of $264,000. And we have an annual assessment billing totaling $124,000 with two billings, one in June for principal and interest, and then one in December for interest only. But for the GO bonds, here are the totals: 2007, $480,000; 2011, $450,000. Again, that was paid off in July of 2018. And no budgeted reserves, no balance, and no debt service any longer for this bond, for these two bonds. So our final budget is $169,480. Available for any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions of board members? Seeing none at this time, I'll open this for a public hearing. Any citizens desiring to questions on the budget here at all? Or other comment? Seeing none, I'll close the public meeting and bring it back for consideration here of a motion on item 4 here. Councilwoman Kakavas.
I move to adopt resolution number R 2020-02, adopting the final budget in the amount of $169,480.
Yeah, I think we have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Board Member Kelly. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passed 7-0. Thank you. Seeing no other business at this time, we have the minutes here. Consideration of the minutes of the Shoal Bluff Facilities Board meeting of June 16, 2020. Have a motion to approve those minutes. We have a motion by Vice Board Member here, and second by Board Member Leach.
Sam.
All those in favor?
Hard for you to say.
Any opposed? Yeah, good tongue twisters here. Thank you. Seeing no other business in the Communities Facilities Board meeting, I'll adjourn that meeting. Thank you. This time I call this meeting back to order, the regular meeting here. And the next item that we have is a summary of current events. Look to council members for any current events they want to share.
I wish.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended a couple meetings in this last month. One was Meals on Wheels Senior Center. We have a great influx of people that wants to come and serve. And so we have new drivers and they're going through their fingerprints and everything else. So we have a new staff on board with delivering meals. They're going to be opening up some new routes and stuff. So just want to thank everybody that's stepped up to volunteer for the Meals on Wheels and Senior Center. The other meeting I attended was the Main Street Board meeting. And as a lot of people know that the Farmers Market and Art Walk was closed down just because of the virus and wanted to take some protection on that. And hopefully if everything goes right, that they're going to try to open that Farmers Market and Art Walk, hopefully August 1st, that first Saturday in August. So we'll see what happens and if everything goes good on that. So in case you guys are wondering what's going on with it, that's what's happening. Also, the project on 9th and Dusa Clubs, where you see all the plants and named by the turn of a card, Main Street with some help from the city of Show Low. Beautified that corner, and at night it's all lit up now and it really looks good. So if you have a chance to go by, don't have nothing going on, you might want to just drive by and see what the lights look like and how well it lights up the city. So the last thing is, and I didn't see it, I just happened to read it on Facebook and everything else, was Friday was National Park and Recreation Professional Day, was Friday, July 17th. And I'd like to say thank you to our park and recreation people for all the stuff they do and the professionalism that they do. And if we didn't recognize you, sorry. And I just want to thank you for all your help and everything that you do for the city of Show Low. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members? I just want to take just a minute here. We're in unprecedented times. I mean, you've had a council who served in unprecedented times. We're citizens who are living in an unprecedented time. Tonight, when I made a comment of call to the public, it was kind of tongue-in-cheek that we get a lot of emails, a lot of comments on Facebook, but this is where you air your differences in a council meeting. This is where you come under the government that we have in our country as you come here. And this is when your voice is heard. And this is where your voices needs to be shared. And this is where we come together. And I just want to thank our citizens for the great citizens that they are. We went through a wonderful 4th of July. We had a great patriotic display at the end of the 4th of July with our fireworks. I couldn't help but get choked up a little bit as we watched the history of our community. And when Claire Thomas talked a little bit about that we were quarantined some cows many years ago, and so we did cancel the parade, and now we canceled the parade because of the quarantine of people. And I didn't know that history, and it was interesting to hear that and to see it. But may we always have a love for God, a love for country, a love for family, and a love for each other. We do have an election that our council will change. We invite you to get out and vote on August the 4th. Amen. And be able to make your voice heard. That way is the other way in which we stand up and we share what we believe and what we want to have happen in our communities. I thank each one of you. Thank you. City Manager. Councilmember Kelly.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to point out to our community, as you have suggested, they take more advantage of the call to the public, that there's no law that requires this council to have a call to the public. But we do, because we want to hear from you. And I think that's significant. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Oh, this is the guy in the video.
Thank you, sir. So as the mayor's mentioned, we do have an election coming up on Tuesday, August 4th. We're registered voters are reminded that we have 3 council seats open and the mayor's seat. This Friday, July 24th, is the last day to register or request an early ballot from Navajo County. You can call 1-800-668-3867. The last suggested date to mail back the ballot is Monday, July 27th, to ensure it's received by Navajo County, in Navajo County by August 4th. Voters may also choose to drop off their voted ballot at the Navajo County Health Department at 550 North 9th Place in the ballot drop box, or at any ballot drop box location within Navajo County, or at any of the polling places in Navajo County on Election Day. Shola voters who prefer to go to the polls will have 2 polling places to choose from, either the city campus gym or Timber Mesa Fire Medical District's administration building on the Deuce Clubs. And all polling places will be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. For more information on the election, you can call our city clerk's office at 532-4060 or 532-4061. Last week, our city's recreation staff moved to the from Shola City Hall to the Shola Family Aquatic Center, which will now be the public's one-stop shop for in-person registration for events and sports leagues and purchases of pickleball passes. The Aquatic Center is open more hours during the week than City Hall and is also conveniently open on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to serve the public, and that should make the registration more convenient for our residents. Recreation staff is currently accepting registrations for summer pickleball, summer play days, art in the park, and if you want more information on the activities, we know a lot of them have been canceled this year, but we still have some smaller activities that are happening. You can call 532-4140. The library staff has created grab-and-go bags as part of the NASA My Library project. During the months of July through October, there will be 200 bags available for families to pick up at the library by using the curbside to pick up the library, or you can call them and use the curbside service. Each month will focus on a different theme, and the bags will have an assortment of activities, games, and information on each theme. And the library number is 532-4070. And in Public Works project, work continues on the tie-overs on the Cooley and 8th Avenue Waterline project. Work is wrapping up on the 24th Drive Sewer Line project. The city crews are working on valve maintenance, water valve maintenance, and flushing sewer lines citywide. They will also be doing a cleanup in the downtown area, including trimming trees and street sweeping this week. They also will be doing some cleanup work and other work over at the Metal Pavilion. I think everybody's noticed that, where we built the pavilion and restrooms. Also, we'll be putting up some mock fencing so we can determine which type of fencing we want to install around the Metal. The next week, the city crews will begin paving and extending the parking lot next to the tennis courts to provide more parking. And as always, we appreciate the citizens' patience as we improve the community. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Appreciate it and appreciate what you do for our community. Any other comments, questions? All right. Seeing no others, need a motion to move into executive session where we'll talk about a discussion of confidentiality statement, CARES Act grant, and executive discussion of records kept from law in the executive session minutes of May 19th and June 2nd. You have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Clark. First by Councilwoman Cavas. Seeing all those in favor? That passed 7-0. Thank you for being with us tonight and watching. This time we'll move into executive session.
just on the side.
Almost every day.